Hello everybody and welcome back to the Miser's Guide to Evony. In today's Building Spotlight video, I will be discussing the warehouse. And even though the warehouse has fewer options displayed, unlike some of these other buildings that I've done building spotlights for, it doesn't mean that the building is not important and there isn't stuff to know about it. So we're going to talk about protected resources, upkeep protection, we're going to talk about gathering capacity, and lastly, the duty officer. All right, starting off with protected resources. If I click on details, the very first four things that you see are food protected, lumber, stone, or protected. And there are two numbers here that you have to really understand. The first one, the white one, is based off of your warehouse level. So as your warehouse level increases, so does that number. And the green one is increased through wall generals, research, and that sort of thing, and and really the duty officer as well. So that number we're going to discuss after, but first we'll look at what I mean by protected resources. So protected resources are the amount that are safe in your city that an enemy cannot take if they win an attack against you. So let's say here my numbers are all 80 million. If somebody attacks me and I have 75 million of each resource type in my city, they're not going to take any of that protected resources. It's completely safe. I will not lose those resources. But if I have 100 million of each, well, they can take 20 million off of the top and leave me at that protected amount, 80, 80, 80, 80. That's what protected resources do. Now, I do have an additional 152 million resources, all this green text here, which means that it's just 80 plus 152, and that is my new protected amount. So anything above that can be taken, but they will never be able to plunder resources from me if I'm below that limit. So that being said, I'll just show you very quickly in the Academy some of the highlighting research that you want to do to increase that. Advanced Silo, I think. Yeah, here we go. Advanced Silo protects the resources. No, that's from being consumed. So it's actually over here at Defense. Is it Stockpile? Yes. Advanced Stockpile increases resource protection capacity in the warehouse. So you have Advanced Stockpile, and there's some other ways to increase it. You'll have to look around. I don't have it all listed here, but you can definitely increase the warehouse. The biggest thing you could do is to upgrade the level of the warehouse, because that changes the base amount. That will then have those research that will increase the research as well. So increasing the warehouse level not only increases the white number, but it also increases the green number here as well. So that is the most important way to increase that protected amount. And I think the duty officer as well, we're going to talk about that later, but that does affect the resource protected. Okay. The upkeep protection. There's a difference between resource protected and upkeep protected. If I scroll down here, it says food protected from troop upkeep. And I have 70 plus 420. The white number and the green number are the same concept. The white number is based off of the warehouse level, and the green number is through research, wall general, and all that same stuff. Duty officer, and so on. It's very different. And what that means is that the food number, the food that you have, obviously it's consumed by troops. So if you have lots of troops, you're going to have an upkeep. And let's take a look at what my upkeep is here, just as an example. You see I have 130.9 million food, and it's not changing. But if you look at my troop details, my upkeep is 192.8 million food upkeep per hour. So you'd expect that this would be decreasing, but it does not, because the food protected amount that I have here is 70 million plus 420 million, so almost 500 million food protected. It's kind of a weird concept. So as soon as you are at that protected amount, your troops stop eating. And they stop eating, but they don't die. They just go on like a heavy diet, and they can survive somehow without eating food which is pretty weird. But that's just how it works. So if you're below that number, then your food will not get consumed. So you do want to increase your warehouse level really, because not only are you protecting from attacks taking your resources, but more so for that food protected amount. If you can increase that, it allows you to keep more food within your city, and food is pretty hard to obtain in the first place because your troops are consuming it. But between that and storing it in your alliance warehouse thing, whatever it's called, it allows you to have, I think at my level, about 1 billion food stored up, just about. And that is pretty important. The only other way to store food is through not using your boxes. And you only use those when you need them. All right. I actually want to go back because I skipped a thing here. So there are research to, I kind of jumped into that ahead a little bit earlier, but I think it's, no, advanced silo. Advanced silo here protects resources from being consumed. And they say resources, but they mean food because nobody consumes wood and ore, as far as I know. And my wall general, for example, here is something that increases the limit, the protected amount, and that would be Shajar here. So Shajar protects an additional 200%, and that's how that number can be so high. Research and wall general and duty officer. Okay, gathering capacity. Another thing that's not really listed too well in the warehouse, but something to be very aware of. If I click on the resources at the top, it says gathering warehouse capacity, and mine says 8.5 million out of 100 billion. The number on the right here, the 100 billion, means that's the amount that I can gather without, when I reach that amount and I haven't spent it, then it won't let me gather anymore. 100 billion is pretty hard to gather. But if you are in a lower keep level, like 20 or so on, that number is probably in the hundreds of millions or tens of millions, and then you can really reach that amount very quickly. And if you are finding that you are getting messages that say you can't gather anymore because you've reached the gathering capacity, that means you really need to upgrade your warehouse so that you're not sending troops out to gather and they come back with nothing. That would just be terrible. So keep that in mind. That is something that is pretty important to know. And the limits can also be found in the details if you scroll to the bottom there. I think it ramps up really quickly in the 20s, like 23, 24, somewhere around there. It just starts increasing very quickly. And then you get to 10 billion, and then it's just like you don't have to worry about it anymore. But at early levels, you do need to worry about that. Okay, last thing I'm going to discuss here is the duty officer. So just like a whole bunch of other buildings, the duty officer can provide benefits if you have one on your building. The special warehouse officer requires 1250 defense, 1200 attack, and 3.1 million power. And remember, like I say in all the other videos, that power has to be on the general when you put them on the wall, but it doesn't have to stay there permanently. So you can put all your equipment on that general and put them on the building permanently, take off all the buildings so they're completely naked, but that doesn't impact whether or not they are still fulfilling that duty requirement. They are still good, and you still benefit from the 70% resource protected and 100% food protected from troop upkeep. Now, that's all I've got for this video. Thank you to the channel members that do support the Miser's Guide to Evony. If you do want to become a channel member, then you can click the join button, check out the membership perks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.